I still didn't feel like I had a proper goodbye, like a closure, closing of the chapter. So I wanted to go back, show my gratitude for everything Dance Moms has given me, and kind of reminisce on the good times and the bad times and everything in between, and then move on.
Yeah, I love that because I feel it's also such an important thing too. I'm sure you're realizing as you grow up, like the say you now have in your own life,
Right.
and the fact that if you didn't go to it, you'd be like, oh, people could be talking about me without me
Yes.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Because of course they're going to talk about who's not present. I mean, the girls and I didn't really want to talk about who, like, because we all had our choices for participating or not participating. But I just wanted to be there because, well, another point I didn't realize until we were there is when we were on the show, when I was on the show as a young kid, we didn't really talk or have a voice. We were just there dancing. So it was really interesting and fascinating to go back and actually get to speak our mind and have opinions and voice them and just be heard, like completely unlike when we were children.
Yeah, I mean that's such a good point because for me it was so interesting to hear you unpack your feelings around this, manufactured rivalry between you and Maddie that was unfortunately cast on you by Abby, possibly the producers. You didn't want any part of it, so it was like very it was eye-opening to hear you sort of unfurl your emotions around it. What was it like for you to discuss that, kind of like for the first time on camera? And did you learn anything, or maybe like have any like self-revelations about the situation in the process of filming the reunion and talking through it?
Yeah, I think I did have a lot of revelations while I was
Yeah.
sitting there. I mean, I'd always been grateful for my experience on the show, exactly as it happened. Like, my sister looked at me one day, she was like, I wish I could take away that whole experience from you. She makes me teary eyed because she's my best friend and she's the sweetest ever. But I actually disagreed and I was like, no, I am so grateful that I experienced the show exactly as I did because it's made me into who I am. And maybe if I didn't have, you know, if I wasn't kind of painted as the underdog and was up against a lot of obstacles, I might not be like as hardworking as I am or etc. So I'm so, even though it was manufactured, and I really dive into this on the reunion, and even though I believe it was unnecessary because I think natural competition blooms at dance competitions. That's kind of the whole point of them. It was nice to kind of always be on the edge of my seat and not always kind of just sitting back and taking it as I was pushing myself and making sure I was doing the best I could do.
Yeah, and how has that kind of impacted how you have been like navigating your life since then? Because you said it kind of made you feel like I'm always the hardworking underdog. Because even right now, you're in New York for a few days, you're going home to graduate, you're having all these plans, like you're like 5 steps ahead of everything. Do you feel a lot of that came from how you watched yourself back on the show?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think every part of who I am today is because of that experience. I mean, my whole life, but a big part of it is Dance Moms and what I went through. And one thing I'm really grateful for, having experienced what I experienced on the show, is I feel really empathetic towards other people. Like I'm really empathetic towards other people. I'm always really aware of their emotions and how they're feeling and just checking in on people. And I don't know, just, kind of being very observant of the world around me. So that's one thing I feel I really took away from the show.
Yeah, that's so interesting. You were saying like you were painted as the underdog, and I know for a lot of viewers that really endeared you to the audience. I know for me, and like we don't like teams, everyone's a star and no one is replaceable. But I will say I was kind of team Chloe and of course
Ah,
Christy back in the day. You know what I mean? Like
thank you.
I'm always rooting for the underdog, so I'm sure maybe that narrative has benefited you in some ways throughout your life. And like you said, it's made you more empathetic towards other people who may be sort of cast in that underdog position. But speaking of Christy,
Yeah.
when the reunion started and you were explaining that she wasn't going to show up because she was filming something else, my heart sank. I was like, no, 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 no. But then she does make an impact. She makes a little cameo in a FaceTime call, and she kind of shares a really hot take about the reunion that happened before the reunion with Maddie and Kenzie, and her thoughts about Melissa's involvement in it. Do you agree with your mom that Melissa was trying to put a fire blanket over any potential bombs?
um, I think a lot of people who participate in reality shows are pretty aware of their moves and, um, they're pretty strategic in how they act because of like the repercussions and everything. So I unfortunately, like, I say unfortunately because, you know, that's just not, maybe it's fortunate, I don't know. That's just not in my nature. I'm just, that's just not how I behave. But I think some people are a little bit more strategic than others.
And you guys said that the 4 of you who were invited to that little pre-reunion party had a really nice time. Were there like, was it kind of a thing where it's like, oh my God, have some chips, have some soda, don't talk about me tomorrow? Or was it kind of just like Dance Moms reunion was not discussed?
No, we didn't discuss it. And honestly, we always try to get together as much as we can. But that was the first time we'd all gotten together since we left the show. Like, there's always one person missing or another person doing this or something is amiss. So that is the first time we were genuinely all together. And I think for me, I was just... It was just a little surreal because they've been such a big part of my childhood. I truly consider them like my extended family. We have a bond unlike any other people. Like, no one will understand what we went through on the show, especially that certain group of girls, because we approached it very differently. You know, it's not like we watched the show and came on with a game plan. We, like, that was genuinely our life, and then like cameras came into it, not like we approached it. So I think we had a little bit more of a different perspective than other people. So I was just really appreciative to be there with all of them and to actually spend time with one another. I wish we could do it more, and we haven't done it since, but yeah.